Last weekend, I went to my first sewing social ever. It was virtual, and it was hosted by Sequin Girly, and I believe it was also assisted by Gemini Stitches. So thank you, ladies, so much. So Sam had mentioned this in her videos, Sam from Sequin Girly Creates. And I was like, I think I'd be into that. I have been so jealous of a lot of my UK friends who talk about all of these sewing socials that they're attending. Sam runs some locally where she is on the other side of the pond. And it was really nice for her to offer this virtual option. I remember as soon as she announced it, I hopped on it right away, got a ticket. And it was a day that I was looking forward to for quite a few weeks. And finally, we were able to get together last weekend, and I had so much fun. I worked on quite a few pieces, so I'll show you what I got done and possibly insert some footage. I think I took like quick snippets in videos while we were at the sewing social. Hey everyone, it's been a little while. I am actually attending my first sewing social ever, virtually. So thank you so much, Sam from Sequin Girly Creates, for setting this up. I'm on my laptop right now and just enjoying the conversation. The first project I decided to start with was my S9114. This is a Mimi G dress that I hacked to make it into a single sort of tiered skirt, and I've just spent the first bit of my time in the sewing social sewing on all the buttons, and I just finished, so that's excellent. And then I have a hanger, which is like weeping. It's that heavy with a ton of things that I'm thinking about upcycling for the Sew Upcycle Challenge. I have two particular makes that are like big to do items, and then everything else as I switched over my closet from spring summer to fall winter. I just pulled out things that I need to alter and I brought them downstairs. So I'm really excited and hoping to spend the remainder of the time on the virtual sewing session just getting through that hanger's worth of things. But yeah, it's my first item complete, and I'm about to try it on and see how I feel about it. But yeah, just wanted to update you guys on what's been going on. Bye. I kicked off the sewing social by finishing up my adapted S9114 dress. This is also a Mimi G pattern, and here is that gorgeous 3-tiered dress, or 2 tiers dress here, which I've made before. This time around, I wanted to use the bodice in this gorgeous buffalo check fabric. Look at that texture. I thrifted this fabric years ago and have just been looking at it like, what am I going to make out of it? And this was what I chose. I didn't have much of it. It was quite narrow, but we made it work because I figured this would be the right pattern for it. And instead of a tiered skirt, I did just a long flowing skirt with a button front placket. I did remember to put pockets in this and waist ties. Third time's a charm. Remembered to add the pockets and added waist ties so that I could cinch it in, which I've wanted to do to all of my previous makes. And I did add some vents at the side there. All this was awaiting was for me to cut the buttonholes open and to sew on the buttons. That's what took me 3 weeks to get around to. But you know what? A sewing social will motivate you to do the things that you've been putting off, okay? So I was able to listen, engage, and sew on buttons. That's how I started my day at the sewing social. Then there was this really, really oversized men's shirt from my husband's closet. He was trying to get rid of this. I saved this from a really unfortunate potential outcome, and I'm so happy that I did. So it's been lingering around for probably a number of years, okay? Because I was like, why would you, such a crisp white shirt? Sir, hand it over to me. Okay, so I saved this, and what I wanted to do was make like a midi length button-up shirt that I could layer with. This is purely a layering piece. Really large, so I'm gonna bring it in here, but I do want the full width at the bottom. So, really baggy. I'm gonna bring all of this in here. I might cut it off right here under, like right through that breast pocket. I might unpick the pocket, and then I'll drop that to start here and put the whole center will be the other fabric. I'll check back in and let you know how far I get. All right, so I finished the second make. The sewing social, the virtual sewing social ended about 15 or so minutes ago. It ended at 4 p.m. my time, but I think it was 8 p.m. for the folks over in the UK. And I was finishing up working, or I started working on my Sew Upcycle make. And I needed to take in the arm and the side of the bodice. I wanted to elongate it, so I cut it right under the breast pocket. Added this knit fabric to the center, and I wanted to go with this particular fabric because it has like a lining quality to it. It's quite slippery, so it wouldn't catch on other garments that I plan to layer on top of it. And then the part that I cut off just sort of sits lower. Now, while I did take in the arm and the side, like the bodice here, I did not reduce at all the bottom of the skirt. So the nice thing is, because this is a knit, I was able to stretch it to meet, right, the circumference of that bottom panel and stitch it right on the overlocker. It was so quick and easy and effective. So I did try it on. It works. It's at the length that I want. Had I wanted to do this, I think, perfectly or better, the thing that I would change is, instead of just trimming some from the undersleeve and into the bodice, I would have found a way to sort of take in the shoulder, maybe with like little pleats at the, you know, at the top here of the shoulder. Just because right now when I wear it, it's a very drop sleeve. Like you can see the line for the shoulder seam sort of on my arm down here. And, you know, the perfectionist in me wanted to rage, wanted to let out an exclamation of like, why did you overlook that, you know? And then the get it done person in me was like, girl, it worked, you know, it's done. So why fight this? Just accept it, you know? So I'm accepting it as a win. And I'm very happy that I did that. So I also did that during the call. And then I think those might have been the only two things that I was able to do in the call. But what the benefit of like being in a sewing environment or space or mindset or mood is, you can continue that far beyond the call. Okay, so when it was 4 p.m. my time, which is when it ended, I just kept going because I had brought down additional things that also needed fixing and repairs. And I just got to work on them, and it was great. Here are a pair of trousers from Ann Taylor that I've had for about 10 years, and I love them. I worked at Ann Taylor for a bit, and it's these gorgeously, you know, high-waisted tailored trousers. And I had done a quick fix because they were way too large at the waist. So I did a quick number here, and you can kind of see because I used blue thread, I think. And I just took it in a little bit and tapered it into that back crotch seam. Not too far, actually. So I'm just letting it out. I just need it to be let out, and I think it's going to be a bit more comfortable for me to wear this fall season. And I'm kind of happy that I did the like quick rough and ready sort of fix to this, because it's going to be so easy just to remove that line of stitching. I think I was able to do it because the fabric is a bit lighter, so it didn't create a ton of bulk to do it this way. Also, I might have just been feeling lazy, let's be real. So I'm going to go ahead and unpick this, and it's just going to give me a little bit more room, which I need right now. And I was so happy that me back then, who was working on these pair of trousers, was lazy that day. Because I can tell you that I have other trousers that I've altered to take in at the waist, that I mean, like, I unpicked everything, you know, like removing waistbands, taking stuff in, cutting fabric, then, you know, taking in even the waistband and then sandwiching it back just to make it look as clean and as professional as I found it. right? Like I was never here. This one was very evident that someone had done something to this because I just folded it since this fabric was a bit lighter and just stitched right on top, which I was so grateful for in this moment because I could just unpick it. I hadn't cut anything off. There was no like trying to get in and under additional seams. I was like, oh, unpick it and iron it flat? That's easy. And I did it. But those are like the 7-minute jobs that you will want to do, and it'll take you 3 years to do it. And you can't really compute the why, the hows of the world. You know, it's like, why can't you just carve out the 7 minutes and do it? But I did it this time, and I was happy I did. I had pulled out this. You're not going to be able to appreciate it. I'll insert some photos. It is a gorgeous dress that I purchased at Macy's when I was in college. So over 10 years ago. And I love it. I don't know that I think I've worn it as a dress once because it's short. So the time that I bought it, I think I wore it as a dress then, and that was the only time I've ever worn it as a dress. Since then, I think I've worn it maybe 3 times. I mean, I can count on a hand, a singular one, how many times I've worn this dress. And one of the things that really grinded my gears about it is that it's a size 4. Not now nor ever do I think I was actually a size 4. The thing is, though, this fabric has just enough give, just enough stretch in this fabric. You see, just enough, right? So this dress up top fit beautifully. My hips used up all of the stretch capacity this dress had. Okay, so just barely made it. Not enough, left in the side seam for me to let it out, so I never tried to tamper with it. However, what I used to do was sort of wear it, tuck under the rest of the dress and wear it as a top, like a cape top, and I loved it. And then the more modest I started dressing, then I would just layer something under it, right, to cover up the arms. So what I decided to do as we were approaching Halloween, and I wanted to go like vampiress style, like, Vampire's Bride sort of style. And I thought this would be delightful. And you've always wanted to do something to this so that you can actually wear it in your wardrobe. Now's the time, my friend. So let me lift up the cape portion so you can see the actual under dress. And what I did was I lobbed off, how much of this dress did I take off? This much. That is about 12 inches off the bottom. I could have stood to probably leave an inch for myself, but it's okay. I now have this. It's very hard to see. It's black on black. So here you have it. This is the bottom edge. So on the inside, what I've done, I've just gone ahead and marked a curve because I think I want the edges of this to be curved. So I used my Dritz fabric marking tool and just went ahead and used a little cup and did that curved line there. So I think I'm gonna cut around this and then use bias binding, most likely is how I'm going to round that off. And then I just did a really nice clean curved hem to this, put a little vent at the side, and I used bias binding, black bias binding, to just seal that bad boy up. That was it. It took a little bit of time, maximum impact, and I'm so much happier with this and can actually see myself wearing this. I've already worn it, like I said, on Halloween. I paired it with this dress that's in my Me Made closet, and this is a self-drafted dress that I made back in 2021, I think. This is a part of my black and white collection in the first sort of couple of videos that I ever did, sewing related videos on my YouTube channel. So I'll link to that because it was a fun one. But it is like 2 different prints here, a shirred bodice, shirring at the cuffs here, and it just is gorgeous. I just felt like it also had a vampy vibe, so I paired these together with the little pie crust collar coming up at the top. It was cute. Did a little spider web at the side of my eyes. It was fine. The last two projects, oh, there's the shirt. So this is that other white shirt that I was telling you about. This is from, I think I got this when I went to London with my sister. So that would have been, wow, like maybe 9 or so years ago. I've had this for a long time, like 7 or 9 years ago. So you can see it wasn't the best fitting shirt to begin with. So I'm happy to keep it as a layering piece. It wouldn't be something that I would have felt comfortable giving to like a charity shop because it's quite worn. It's getting dingy. It had that hole in the back. So I'm glad to be able to repurpose it and use it for myself. Again, using that slinkier sort of knit fabric so that it can layer under clothes a lot nicer. I probably should have given myself a bit more length so that this starts under the bust. I hope that this line right here doesn't show under the things that I layer it under. Kind of annoyed about that now. I hadn't considered it before. But yeah, it probably would have been best maybe 1.5 to 2 inches lower. But it's okay. It's not much length, but it's just meant to be tucked in to other things. I did not hem the bottom yet. And I'm debating if I will or not. But it is one of those knits that will roll. And it's rolling right now towards the outside. So I'll have to see how it goes. If honestly, I wore it recently to work. I actually wore it under my tan M8064 sleeveless dress that I made. So you just saw a peep of the collar, the arms, and because of this knit fabric at the bottom now, I could just tuck it into like hosiery or other things. And it's just seamless, right? You don't see the imprint of all the buttons all the way down the front. You aren't, like uncomfortable because it's rising up and doing all this stuff that used to happen when I would try and layer a full button-up shirt that's woven under other things, especially if they're longer. So I'm really happy I finally did it. And this was something that otherwise I didn't wear as much. It was starting to get tight around the hips. So then I'd have to like unbutton a couple of buttons at the bottom, many different things. And it wasn't in a condition that I thought was great enough to donate to a thrift store, right? So it's better I keep it. Let me see how I can make it wearable for me. So I really enjoyed that. Now, the last two things that I did that evening, since I was in this like just fix it phase, I took 2 scarves that I have in my stash that I absolutely love. But every single time I wanted to wear it in previous seasons, I just like they're not wearable for the way that I want to wear it. So it was just a really big, this is a wool scarf that I thrifted. I like the colors in it. Like, look at that. I love it. And what I wanted to do was just create it into more of like a, is this called a cape or a poncho? Like more of a poncho style, so that it had the split in the front. That way I would have more versatility in how I could wear it. All right, so I did the first one and I actually went in with my pinking shears and cut along that center front and then use my narrow rolled hem foot to just get a really nice clean edge on it. I think that worked out pretty well. That's what it looks like on the right side using some matching sort of baby blue thread. So I'm quite happy with that. This way I could like belt it. I can wear it over a dress and cinch it in, or, I often wear mine to the side and do like an asymmetric throw over the shoulder. But now I can do that because it has a seam down the, like an opening down the middle. Did the same with this, which is such a gorgeous scarf. And oh my goodness, like look at the embroidery on it. Look at the autumnal colors in this. It's so decadent and beautiful. It's like Thanksgiving colors. It's the cranberries, it's the burgundies, it's the brown and the tans and the florals. I love it. But yeah, basically did the same thing. I did end up using the same method as I did for the wool version. So I went ahead and used my pinking shears and then did a narrow roll hem along the edge there. Really happy with how that turned out, because I've always said, like, if it just had an opening and I could wear it, and I would wear it a lot. So the full outfit that I wore to work was my button-up sort of layerable shirt on top of my M8064 with this sort of belted over it. Do you see how the colors just work so beautifully together? It was a look, it was a moment. I know Whitney over at Whit Makes just shared in one of her recent videos that someone over on Instagram was encouraging folks to do basically like a Me Made May, but in November. So like a Me Made November, where you document wearing your Me Mades every day in November, basically, which I really want to take part in. I have to recreate the outfit that I wore on November 1st so that I can keep it up. But I think it's a great idea, because I have said that when I did my recap video for Me Made May, I remember thinking, I wish I had this sort of catalog of my outfits in the cooler months, because my wardrobe is so different, right? And I think I am definitely going to hop on that. So if you want to share, do the same. I'm going to try and remember what the hashtag is and put it down below and link to Whitney's video as well. So just to wrap up, like I said, the Sewing Social was awesome. As you can see, I made quite a few makes during that time period. Not solely in the time that I was actually doing the virtual Sewing Social, but just the inspiration and the spark to kind of continue on that creativity was really motivating, and I got so much done for the rest of that evening. It was nice that I was able to carve out that time with family obligations and things like that, but there was something really rewarding about having that as a scheduled time. Like, I could tell my husband, I was like, oh, like, I signed up for this thing. It's actually like, it's an event. So I felt like I was given permission even more so to just like have that block of time, which was so helpful. In addition, I think that the virtual nature of it meant that I could be in my physical space. I had access to all of my things. I could change out my serger thread. I wasn't limited to what did I bring with me to the social, and that's the only thing I could work on. So I must say that while I haven't been to an in-person sewing social, I could see that the level of mental energy that you have to put into just deciding what to bring, making sure you have everything that's going to make the assembly of that project or the completion of that project meaningful, and how to plan for if you have more time than you expected or if you don't get to as many things. I just know that that would add another layer or another level of like mental space. And I know folks are doing it, and I'm sure it's still super rewarding and people share items, etc., but I will say there was like that added benefit for me of doing a virtual sewing social where I could still get the engagement, still get the interaction, but be in the comfort of my home and the space where I do all of my sewing, so that I had access to all of the things and could pivot and continue on to new projects with very little, thought to it. And that was nice. So I love and appreciate that they were still able to host the raffle. Like, they really did make it feel like we were just doing a real sewing social. I think Sam also used a Facebook group to enable like a fabric swap. I didn't really indulge in that option too much, honestly, being in the US, and I think there were other participants for sure that were in the US in different areas, but the idea of postage and mailing and how to do all the logistics, it's not something I was willing to fiddle with at this time, unfortunately, so I didn't really engage too much in the fabric swaps table, but it was nice to be included and potentially having a chance to win the fabric that she gave away in the giveaway, and I thought that that was really nice. All in all, would highly recommend. I believe she has another date, one of the final dates for the virtual option this year, so I'll link to her channel or to like the link for signing up for that if it's still available in the description box down below. I don't know that I'll be able to make the next one, but looking forward to whatever she hosts in the new year as a virtual option. And also it gave me that sort of motivation to think about some of the sewing friends that I've made virtually online on YouTube, and just like inviting them to like a Zoom call on a Saturday morning, being like, let's just get together and hang out, because it was so much fun. So thank you again so much, Sam from Sequin Girly Creates. I will link to her channel down below. Thank you, Gemini Stitches. Thank you to everyone who attended the event. I got to see and interact with a number of individuals that I know also had YouTube channels. So if I can, I'll try and link to some of those channels down below as well. Thank you, ladies, for just making it such a warm and inviting space to be in, especially as someone who has never done a sewing social before. So really, really nice. I hope you enjoyed seeing my makes that came of that entire day and evening thereafter. And if you could let me know in the comments down below what was your favorite make or refashion that I worked on during the sewing social day, I would greatly appreciate it. Let me know which one you loved the most, which one you might consider recreating for yourself, if any. I would love to hear it in the comments down below. Until next time, friends, stay creative. Bye-bye.